Well, friends, there he goes again. Donald Trump adds a couple more names to his enemies list, with his Department of Justice apparently now gearing up to criminally investigate former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, another day, another new low for Donald Trump and his Department of Justice. We're going to start with the new reporting, but then we're going to talk about the many reasons why neither John Brennan, nor James Comey, nor any of the many other public servants and former public servants on Donald Trump's enemies list will likely ever be prosecuted. Or, put less delicately, let's talk about why this latest punk move by Trump, this shit, is likely to go exactly nowhere. But here's the new reporting. This from NBC News. Headline: Trump administration targets Comey and Brennan with new investigation. And that article begins: the Trump administration has put two repeated targets of President Donald Trump under criminal investigation, although details of what exactly they are being investigated for, or how far the Justice Department intends on taking the probes, are unclear. The two targets are former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey, whom Trump fired in his first term, according to a statement that a Justice Department spokesperson provided to reporters. Okay, friends, can I ask you to put a pin in that? That the Department of Justice apparently issued a statement that, yes, there's a criminal investigation that we're conducting, and the targets of that investigation are John Brennan and James Comey. This quote from former CIA Director John Brennan, quote, "It is hard to believe that here we are, 8.5 years after the 2016 presidential election. We're still going over this ground that has been, I think, fairly well and exhaustively plowed," Brennan said. He went on to reiterate what he had previously told NBC News, that he has not been contacted by the Justice Department or the CIA about the investigation. But he said, quote, "I think this is, unfortunately, a very sad and tragic example of the continued politicization of the intelligence community, of the national security process, and quite frankly, I'm really shocked that, individuals are willing to sacrifice their reputations, their credibility, their decency to continue to do Donald Trump's bidding on something that clearly is just politically based." And friends, here comes the first of several reasons exposing why this newly announced investigation of Brennan and Comey is stone cold bullshit, because it's all been investigated before. The article continues. A special counsel appointed by then Attorney General William Bill Barr spent years investigating how the 2017 intelligence assessment was put together, requiring many CIA officials to hire lawyers. That special counsel, John Durham, also used a grand jury to scrutinize the actions of Brennan, Comey, and many who worked for them over how the FBI and the CIA handled investigations into Russia's effort to interfere in the 2016 election. But Durham did not charge the two former leaders or accuse them of any wrongdoing. His sole charge against a public official came against a low-level FBI lawyer who had lied on a warrant application. Okay, friends, there's a lot to unpack there. So let's do this one by the numbers. 1, remember during the first Trump administration when Bill Barr appointed a special counsel, John Durham, to do what? Investigate the investigators. Donald Trump didn't like the fact that he had been investigated for all things Trump-Russia, right? Connections between the Trump campaign and Russia, or that he was investigated for his own conduct that looked like he was obstructing justice, all of which was documented in Volume 2 of the Mueller report. Donald Trump didn't like it one bit. So he had Bill Barr appoint a special counsel, John Durham, to investigate the origins of the Trump-Russia investigation, investigate the investigators. And John Durham, to his credit, did an extensive and exhaustive investigation, used the grand jury subpoena power to investigate potential crimes, including of Brennan and Comey. And guess what? Neither Brennan nor Comey apparently committed any crimes because they weren't indicted, they weren't tried, they weren't prosecuted, nothing. So all of this has been done before. In fact, by Trump and company, this kind of an investigation has been done before. So friends, you know who would make an excellent witness for the defense if Brennan or Comey was ever indicted and taken to trial? John Durham. For the defense, not for the prosecution. Okay, friends. 2, you know who else would make an excellent witness for the defense if Brennan were ever prosecuted, if Comey were ever prosecuted? Your Honor, the defense calls to the witness stand Marco Rubio. That's right, friends. Donald Trump's current Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, would make a devastating defense witness if DOJ was ever foolish enough to try to prosecute Brennan or Comey. Why? Well, because Marco Rubio was the acting chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee when that committee also exhaustively investigated the origins of the Trump-Russia probe. And do you know what Marco Rubio said on behalf of a bipartisan committee about the results of their exhaustive investigation? Report of the Select Committee on Intelligence, United States Senate, on Russian active measures, campaigns, and interference in the 2016 U.S. election. Volume 4, Review of the Intelligence Community Assessment. This quote from Marco Rubio. Every witness interviewed by the committee stated that he or she saw no attempts or pressure to politicize the findings. So when DOJ tries to prove that John Brennan or James Comey pressured people during the Trump-Russia investigation or tried to politicize the investigation's findings and conclusions, Marco Rubio would have to testify to his own statement that every witness interviewed by the committee stated that he or she saw no attempts or pressure to politicize the findings. Okay, friends, reason number 3, there likely will never be a prosecution of Brennan or Comey is because of the statute of limitations. 5 years. Prosecutors typically have 5 years from the time a crime is committed to bring a federal charge. Hypothetically speaking, if anything was done back during the Trump-Russia investigation that could have been criminal, well, those crimes have timed out, right? The deadline has passed. The statute of limitations would require a judge to dismiss any indictment brought for crimes that were more than 5 years old. So that's a legal, technical reason that Even if they had done something wrong back then, they couldn't be prosecuted today. Reason number 4 is a little thing we call vindictive prosecution. I mean, friends, this is Donald Trump demanding a conviction in search of a crime. Do you remember a few minutes ago when I asked you to put a pin in some of the reporting we were reading? The DOJ actually said the 2 targets are former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey, according to a statement that a Justice Department spokesperson provided to reporters. Friends, as a 30-year federal prosecutor, 24 of those years at the Department of Justice, we don't do that. We don't comment on or announce, hey, everybody, listen up, new criminal investigation. And well, let me tell you who the targets are. We've already decided who the wrongdoers will be, even though we haven't conducted the investigation yet. We're going after Brennan and Comey. If that is not marquee evidence tending to prove a vindictive prosecution, I don't know what is. In the event Pam Bondi can find lawyers who are excited about the prospect of losing their law license for bringing a vindictive prosecution like that, I suspect a federal judge would, figuratively speaking, cram it down the throat of the Department of Justice and the DOJ lawyers who exercise the bad judgment to go into court and support a vindictive prosecution. Reason number 5. How many people are on Donald Trump's enemies list? How many people has he said he wants to prosecute? Well, let's see. There's Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Adam Schiff, Leticia James, Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith, Miles Taylor, Christopher Krebs, and now John Brennan and James Comey. And friends, who is the original OG on Donald Trump's enemies list? Let's see. What was that 3-word mantra that he used to have his supporters at his hate rallies chant endlessly? It was, lock her up, right? There's the OG on Donald Trump's enemies list, Hillary Clinton. So friends, of those people I just listed, how many have been indicted, criminally charged, prosecuted? By my count, exactly 0. You know, maybe the safest place to be if you don't want to be criminally prosecuted is on Donald Trump's enemies list. You know, it's clear that these people have not been indicted or prosecuted or tried is because they committed no crimes. Not that that matters to Donald Trump. I mean, the reason he has his Department of Justice announce, in violation of every ethical rule, everything we stand for at the Department of Justice, announce that, hey, we're criminally investigating 2 more people, and let me tell you who the targets are, Brennan and Comey, is for the intimidation value. That's what that's for, not because there's any prospect of a successful prosecution. None of these people that Donald Trump has been railing against for years, a decade or more, none of them have been prosecuted. And I suspect, given the 5 reasons we just discussed, none of them ever will be. And you know why? Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.